Hi, Felicia. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So before we get into our session today, the first thing I want to remind you is the confidentiality rule. Everything we share here today stays between you and I, unless there is any reason for me to believe that you are in danger of harming yourself or harming anyone else. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So the first thing we're going to do in our session today, like we do in all of our sessions, is we're going to set the agenda. I want to get an update from you. Go over the homework from last week. Focus on one problem that you would like to address today because we are going to only have time for one problem today. Talk about your upcoming homework assignment, and then we'll close with feedback, okay? All right. So the first thing I want to know is how you're feeling from last session.
I'm feeling better. A little better. I think I'm noticing some progress, which is good.
Good. What are some problems and positives that you have encountered this past week?
Yeah, so I've been having a hard time at work. There's just been some change at work, and I haven't settled into it yet. But also, my trip is getting closer for vacation, which is nice. So, positives and negatives to my week.
Okay, so it sounds like the negative is you're still having quite a bit of a time adjusting to the new changes that you had discussed in our first session.
Yeah.
Okay, but one positive thing is you're looking forward to your trip that's coming up, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. And did anything major happen since we last met you would like us to address today? Is there anything that specifically you want to work on?
Nothing major, not today. I still kind of just want to continue with my patience for now.
Okay, so we still want to focus on the lack of patience for you?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So now we're going to move on to the homework assignment. So last week, do you remember, we did the coping card for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you feel about the coping card exercise?
It was all right. I don't think it was for me, but I still did it. And it felt better, but I don't think it's something that I would actively do all the time.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't too helpful for you in times of stress or distress when it comes to like being upset in your patients.
Yeah, I feel like here and there it would help, but I want more of an immediate thing.
Okay.
Something that I could do all the time, and I don't think writing on a card when I'm feeling like that is going to help.
All right. Well, thank you for being honest with me. That's the best thing you can do for me moving forward so that we can come up with other ways that are going to benefit you, not only in sessions, but outside of sessions. Okay. All right. Great. So today, like I said before, we're going to work on one problem. And what would you say the problem that you want to focus on is again? Just remind me.
My patience primarily.
Okay, patience. Okay. All right. So I want to introduce you to a new tool today. It's called a thought record. And what the thought record does is it helps you build the skills to improve your moods and begin making positive changes towards your goals. So your goal, you had shared with me initially, was that you wanted to gain more patience when it comes to every aspect of your life. And that's something we've been working on together, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with using the thought record, I'm going to help you and I want you to be able to identify, evaluate, and respond to your automatic thoughts. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to pull up the thought record. It's a worksheet in a workbook, and I'm going to make a copy of it for you for your homework. But I want to do one with you here in the office just because it might be a little overwhelming for you to do it on your own. So we can, you can best understand it for when you do it in your homework this coming week. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So give me just a minute. I'm going to get that. And then we will get started, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to do my own. Thank
Okay.
you.
So I have the thought record here in the workbook. So what we can do is I can either give this to you and you can write out and we can kind of go through it together, or I can write these things for you as they come up.
I can write it out.
Okay, perfect. So here is the workbook. We're going to start with column 1. Like I said, this is a thought record. As you can see, it has 7 columns. So the first column is going to be the situation. So I want you to think about a situation this week that you had a lot of impatience. Go ahead and write that down, and then if you would, please share it with me.
So, earlier this week on Mondays, one of our busiest days at work, I was just dealing with an irate customer. Couldn't even say hello, just very irate from the beginning.
Okay.
And it was, first call of the day, 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a Monday, and it was just, I don't know, that day my patience was just running very thin.
Okay. So it sounds like Monday's your busiest day at work. It's your first day back after the weekend. So you were feeling a lot of pressure from this first caller that you encountered.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the second column is going to be how you felt. So I want to know, what moods would you say that you had? And then we're going to go ahead and rate them on a scale of 0 to 100 to see, how those moods were feeling.
So first I would say overwhelmed, just because I wasn't expecting that right there in the morning.
Okay.
And then just very angry because again my patience is thin and it's the morning time.
Right. So those are very justified, angry and overwhelmed. Those are, definitely I can understand why you were feeling that way. And if you had to rate it on a percentage, how angry would you say you were from 0 to 100?
I wasn't gonna just leave. It wasn't like at 100, but probably at 70% I was feeling.
Okay. And then how about overwhelmed? How overwhelmed, 0 to 100, how overwhelmed were you?
Like 30%.
Okay, so 30%. Okay. So it sounds like you were a little bit, quite a bit more angry than overwhelmed. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, because I deal with angry customers all the day, and so I'm never really overwhelmed. But this early in the morning, I was.
Okay. So in the third column, what I want you to write down is your automatic thoughts. So as soon as you began to feel overwhelmed and angry when this situation happens, I want you to write down and share with me exactly what came into your mind at that time.
So my first thought when I got that call, I was like, "Wow, my day's gonna be horrible." Wow, like great. This is the beginning of the day. This is how my day's gonna start.
Okay. So it would be fair to say that you pretty much from that point on just didn't know how the rest of your day was going to go. Did you feel at that point more overwhelmed or still just more angry than anything?
Um, at that point, I was more of just I don't think angry, kind of more of just like a fed up, tired, like I'm sick of this. I want to find a new job.
Okay.
I was over it.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to move on to column number 4, and that's the evidence that supports the hot thought. So basically, we want to tie columns 1 through 3 in together and say what was the overall most, the highest rated heated moment for you. So you said before that you were really angry. You weren't sure how the rest of your day was going to go. So how would you say, um, couple that with your lack of patience? How would you say that that made you feel? Write that down in the hot thought, and then we'll go over that. Okay. So what would you say the evidence of the hot thought was?
I was very tempted to kind of just lash out at the client, with his just rude and irate comments.
Okay. So now we're going to kind of transition into thinking on more positive thoughts of how maybe next time that you encounter a caller like this, how we could shift the situation. So in column number 6, or in column number 5, I want you to write something that does not support the automatic thought. So something that would be empowering to you or encouraging to you.
Just thinking about, I get money, I'm getting paid for this. So there's no really need for me to stress out.
Okay. All right. And then number 6 is an alternative thought. So instead of, like I said, a negative thought, you want to try to think of a positive thought to combat the impatience. So what would be a positive thought that you can say to yourself the next time you would encounter a customer like this?
That they're just having, really bad D. And I should try and be just more empathetic. But also, again, it's my job. I'm getting paid to do this. So there's no need for me to be stressing out over them.
Right. So that's good. And I want to acknowledge that it's okay to be impatient. I can only imagine it must be difficult for you to deal with the kind of clients that you do. But we also, like I said, want to try to make that shift just to try to make it easier on you so that your entire day is not impacted. So in the final column, I want to go over re-go over the emotions you expressed. So you said you were angry and you were overwhelmed. So I want to go back and coming up with the more positive aspects or outlooks on things. If you applied those to the situation, as far as angry and overwhelmed, how would you say that you would rate the percentages if you applied the more positive things instead?
Well, overwhelmed, I don't want to say 0, but maybe like 10%.
Okay.
And then for angry, again, I don't know why that did make me so angry, but maybe more of like a 40% now.
Okay. So it sounds like with just maybe a little bit of shifting of our thinking, like we've been talking about, you would be really able to combat those negative feelings. So that's definitely something you want to work on moving forward. And we'll work on that together more throughout our sessions. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So does that thought record make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I am going to give you a copy of the thought record, and I want you to use this at least 3 times this week. Do you think that's something that would be doable for you?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
And if it becomes overwhelming at any time and you don't feel like you can do it 3 times, 2 times, or even 1 time, that's okay. I want you to fill out the sections you feel comfortable with, and then we'll go over it together. Okay?
Okay.
I don't want this to be an overwhelming process for you. Okay? All right. So in closing, I'm just going to go over a brief summary of our visit, and then I'm going to ask you for some feedback, and then we will be all set for today, okay?
Okay.
All right. So today we checked in. We did a little bit of to see how you were feeling. We went over your coping card homework from last week. We discussed your impatience. You're wanting to still focus in on that. We used the new tool, the thought record, to start working on combating that impatience. We went over the thought record for homework, which you seem to understand it. You said you understand it. Now, in closing, just want to ask you for some feedback, and then we will be completed.
I think it was good. A little homework, I feel like is better and it's more manageable. So I think it was good, and I could just apply it more the next week.
Okay, good. And I really want to thank you again for being honest about the homework not working. That's the only way I can help you. As if you're honest. So thank you so much for doing that. And I'm glad to hear that you're feeling some type of improvement. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Bye bye.